Hello there, and welcome to the channel. This is Nerd World, and today we are visiting the Babylon 5 universe, and specifically the Poseidon Class supercarrier of the Earth Alliance. This vessel was the Nimitz class ship of its age, a relatively rare ship in Earth Force, but a highly specialized and very useful one. Now, I should point out there is relatively limited alpha canon on this ship, so I will give you what we've got and try to fill in the blanks as best I can with a bit of logical deduction, or inductive reasoning more accurately. With all that said, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, maybe click the bell notification icon and check out my other channels that are listed in the description below. And let's get started on Poseidon Class. To understand the position of the Poseidon Class supercarrier within Earth Force, you have to look at the genesis of the organization. In its early days, Earth Force put a lot of emphasis on fighter development, not on capital ship development. In the 22nd century, as Earth began to expand, it would have several minor conflicts with other races. Attacked in 2169 and defeated by an alien race, a year later, another alien species in 2170 would also attack an Earth Force outpost, but this attack would be rebuffed by an earlier class of fighter carrier called the Avenger class. This class had the distinction of carrying the first Star Fury type fighter in, space superiority fighters, and they were the key to the victory in this particular occasion. Now, the Avenger class is a ship for another video, but it was the precursor of the Poseidon class, considerably smaller. Exactly when the Poseidon class came into being is unknown, but it was definitely in the next century, as this vessel utilized rotational sections to give it gravity in the aft area. Now, most Earth Force vessels we're more familiar with, such as the Omega class, can carry at most 48 Star Furies, although they wouldn't normally carry such a complement. The Poseidon class was capable of carrying 96 Star Furies, as well as other ancillary vessels, such as shuttles and transports. But in terms of pure fighters, 96 fighters, usually broken down into groups of 24 of different types. If not, this would vary depending on mission-specific roles. It could carry Thunderbolts, Standard Star Furies, Stealth Furies, Badgers, anything. It was capable of fielding and deploying them. The vessel had an independent jump drive and was noted for being very fast on its turnaround with its jump engines. The vessel was not designed for direct combat with other ships, instead relying on escorting corvettes or destroyers to protect it, while it deployed its fighters for overwhelming force. As a result, the ship was rarely deployed alone, and if it was in a relatively safe region of space. It was almost always escorted, as I said. Its only armaments were 4 pulse cannons and 4 beam cannons. Although these were the same grade as those carried aboard an Omega class, it had 2 forward and 2 aft, as well as a few, basically, point defense systems to defend it against fighters. It was not a well-armed ship. It was not designed for direct spatial combat, although it had an armored hull for its primary defense. It mainly relied on its speed and its ability to recharge its jump engines very rapidly, to get in, deploy its fighters, and retreat again. Characteristics of the vessel were: at the front of the ship there were 2 quite large fighter retrieval and deployment bays to rapidly launch fighters directly at the enemy. Although again, this vessel's tactics would typically keep it a little bit further back from the direct engagement zone, preferring instead to deploy the fighters at range against its opponents. And pretty much that's what we know about the Poseidon class. It was approximately 2,000 meters in length, making it bigger than an Omega class considerably, but that's to be expected with the massively enlarged fighter capacity. Effectively, it was just one gigantic hangar floating in space with an engine on the back. Most of the crew would stay in the aft of the ship where the rotational sections were. These vessels would see action in later conflicts, but I believe they would have missed the Dilgar War, as Earth, I don't believe, was using, or at least not using widely, rotational drive sections at that time to generate gravity, meaning this vessel may have been a post-Minbari War evolution of the older Avenger class, which was likely still in service for the Minbari War. So as I said, there we have the Poseidon Class supercarrier of Earth Force. A vessel that kind of straddled two eras of the Earth Alliance. The one where Earth was still part of the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, but before it would gain access to Minbari and shadow technology that would allow it to enhance its vessels to generate gravity using gravitic drive systems, instead of just utilizing fusion drives. But the vessel would see a long service, and although only limited production, was a necessary part of the fleet for its specific mission roles. So, there you go. Tell me if you've heard about this vessel in the comments below. I'll be honest, I hadn't, because this vessel doesn't actually appear direct in the Babylon 5 series proper. You can find it on the Babylon 5 wiki page, and it does appear in some other media. But because it was on the TV series proper, I wasn't familiar with it until I started doing research into the ships I was doing for this series. And I kind of thought that Earth Force always needed a ship like this, but I always figured because the Omega class could carry so many fighters, it was kind of filling a dual role. But as we all know, when you have a ship in a naval force that is multi-role, the military is better with a vessel that is specialized rather than a ship that can do everything, or a few different roles but do none of them particularly well. Sometimes it's useful, as the term jack of all trades, which is heavily misused actually. If you actually look up what the full thing of jack of all trades is, it was actually meant to imply that being able to do multiple things at once is actually beneficial over being a specialist. It's actually been misquoted over the years. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. With that said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Again, let me know in the comments below if you're familiar with this ship, and do you wish we'd seen it in the actual Babylon 5 series, and are you hoping to see something similar to it in the Babylon 5 reboot that's coming soon? Like, share, subscribe, and if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you for watching. Bye bye.